I just want to say that a long time ago, I did somewhat form um, a digital, um, vague relationship with Julian Assange. Um, I don't, yes, I did form, I bought one of his books for a start. And then later on, I was asked by a friend whether I believed, therefore, being somewhat friendly and supportive of Julian Assange, whether I thought that spilling the beans on military secrets and so on was acceptable when it might put the population in danger. And I had to concede that I did have mixed feelings about it. Now, Julian Assange, I was supportive of him. I felt particularly sorry for him, being shut up in an embassy for so many years, but I think he was kept, if I'm to believe that he is still alive, which I do hope he is in many respects, um, and that he's not sort of locked away in a mental institution or whatever. Um, One of the main things that, however, put me off supporting him more wholeheartedly was the rape allegations, which were not necessarily dealt with. They were dealing with other things, but but not the rape allegations. Um, Now, but I'm not overlooking that, but I do have a similar dilemma myself now. Um, Many of you will be aware that our cities need power bases. Um, they need, apparently, probably, well, I had a photograph, and I did share it with the computers. I didn't share it publicly with anyone else, but I did upload the photograph to one of my computers, which did store it for many years. I tried to find it again the other day, and many of my photographs seem to have been, like, I seem to have been denied access to them now. But I don't want to necessarily even suppose that there may only be one energy base for cities, but I think it is likely that I was told the truth. And the photograph, following a leak from a man who was worried that the pylon system couldn't take any more voltage. It can only cope with a certain demand on the electricity, the transmission of the transmitters of the electricity. It's not just about the base of the electricity itself, but the pylons can only meet and take a certain level of demand on them. And the more houses that are built, the more demand, and industrial estates and so on, the more demand there will be and is in fact now on the pylons, which might need sort of not only maintenance, but um, well, they might have a limited life anyway, somewhat, and be, but they have lasted great. I was sort of told by one person that it was the Americans who helped install the pylon system for us, and initially, and I'm sure we have all been most grateful, actually, for the service that the pylons have provided, and may have been likely to provide, and may be likely to provide if not too much demand is put on them. I was told that it's actually the danger is not necessarily coming from a foreign country, but that if that supply level on the pylons does get too high, the likelihood is that they will blow. That's what I was told. Now, the photograph I refer to, um, well, it looks like something from an amusement park scene in AI, the film AI, or that film about that rabbit, that vegetarian rabbit woman, police woman in that film with a lot of yes, she was the optimist and the rationalist, a Lisa Simpson character in many ways. When many of the other people, when she got to the big city, were slightly predatory. Um, yeah, hmm. That film as well had scenes like what they'd done to try and continue the electricity supply, haphazard it looked like, circling in sort of well, loops, actually, like one of those type of loops. One of those type of loops, and all sorts of things going on bizarrely with bits of wire and everything, trying to meet the situation without there having been much organisation around trying to cope, actually. And that photograph was taken about 6 years ago, and it's disappeared. Now, lately, I've been told that because there has been further building around, and new housing estates need are thought to need an electricity supply, there has actually now had to be tunneling underground, massive tunneling and work to try and plant underground cables further um, to that same station. And yes, one man was particularly worried because he was making out that they dug out bits of stone and all sorts underneath the road, and that he'd been asked to put it in a pile, and it had all mysteriously turned to sand. Now, I can't be sure whether he was trying to confuse me. I can't be sure whether he was trying to tell lies or whether actually I can't be sure, and this is the truth, that that sort of reverse of a miracle, or maybe miracle, or whatever, didn't happen. I can't be sure of that because I've had very strange experiences myself that I had lately, that I don't know whether are coming from aliens. I don't know whether they're coming from the mental health services, who may, and Oxford and Cambridge, who may be sort of experimenting in teleportation and all sorts. I'm not sure how scientific it is, um, but I've had some very strange experiences happen to me lately, and it's not because I'm mad, and it's not because I'm psychotic. Um, I've formulated a different way of dealing with it. I do try to keep myself somewhat skeptical because I know that there's a danger I could fall into absolute credulity. I could be being taken for a credulous person when actually it might be a political situation. I'll leave it there for now. I did obviously have to talk about that because I wrote when before the pylon became sort of absolutely the pylons and the electricity centre, before I took that photograph. Um, I did write to both the Conservative Party in York and the Labour Party about the pylon problem, which had been leaked by an official whose job was to survey land around pylons and to monitor them, actually. And he obviously felt as though he needed to talk to someone outside his own circle about it. And their response, the Labour Party particularly, I think, because they are the ones that are in charge of York and have been for many years, their response was to put me in a mental hospital.